The stats are high and alarming, according to the World Health Organization. Over 800,000 people die by suicide across the world each year. 3,000 people on average die daily, and for every person who completes a suicide, another 20 or more may attempt to end their lives. As the world focuses on suicide prevention today, let us increase our efforts to be more vigilant, to see the warning signs, and act to save lives. More details later in the show, plus the benefits of the Petrocaribe Energy Corporation Agreement. Hello, I'm Theodore Henry. Keep watching.
Program implementation remains strong. We also welcome the recent wage agreements. It was a proactive and important step in reducing Jamaica's public debt. A gradual economic recovery is underway. The growth outlook is improving. Growth is now projected to be about 1.4% for this fiscal year.
The government of Jamaica is on a mission, going for growth, staying the course, and transforming the economy through its economic reform program. Good day, I'm Andrea Chisholm, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, September 10. Residents of the Longville Park housing development in Clarendon will be getting a permanent police post in early 2016. Cabinet recently approved a $72.2 million contract for C&D Construction and Engineering Limited to build the new police station.
The National Housing Trust, which is responsible for the Longville Park development, and the Jamaica Constabulary Force have agreed on the need for a permanent police presence in the Longville Park community to enable the police to be more responsive to the security concerns of the residents.
The Information Minister gave the update at a Jamaica House media briefing in Montego Bay last Friday. She said the police station would be built on 2 acres of land. It should be completed within the next 6 months. In the meantime, Cabinet has also approved the establishment of a regional office for the Firearm Licensing Authority FLA in Mandeville. It will serve residents in Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, and Southern Trelawney.
The opening of the Mandeville office will improve service delivery and the FLA's commitment to better serve the public.
The FLA was established in 2005 to streamline, standardize, and improve the process of granting, renewal, and revocation of firearms licenses. The resort town of Ocho Rios has been outfitted with a cutting-edge closed-circuit television CCTV surveillance system. The system provides round-the-clock detailed footage of the town and was commissioned into service last week. It's valued at more than $107 million. The Tourism Enhancement Fund contributed $57 million to the project.
Our tourism master plan mandates that the TF ensures the full development of our traditional resort areas. This is critical to the economic and social well-being of the people who live in those areas.
National Security Minister Peter Bunting says this project is part of government's commitment to make greater use of technology as a deliberate strategy to reduce crime and violence.
And the next step that we're looking at is, rather than having a distributed system, is using a wide area network so that we can actually have a national monitoring center where all the CCTV systems, not just the ones being used by police, but the ones being used by the National Works Agency, the ones being used by some of the parish councils, the ones being used by even private operators, because the value of the system really increases almost exponentially based on the number of cameras that you have on it.
In addition to Ocho Rios, CCTV surveillance systems have also been installed in Montego Bay, Mandeville, and Maypen. Finance Minister Dr. Peter Phillips is leading a delegation to China from September 9 to 15 to participate in the Ministerial Seminar on Sustainable Economic Development for Developing Countries. While in China, Dr. Phillips will also have a series of meetings with authorities in the Chinese government as well as officials in firms involved in overseas investments.
He will hold discussions on existing loan agreements, possible future financing opportunities, and the broader economic and financial relations between Jamaica and the People's Republic of China.
Minister Phillips is accompanied by Financial Secretary Devon Rowe, DBJ Managing Director Milverton Reynolds, Technical Advisor Helen McIntosh, and Head of the IMF Coordination and Implementation Unit in the Finance Ministry, Judith Green. The estimated cost of the delegation's visit is $9.6 million. And finally, Education Minister Reverend Ronald Thwaites is encouraging educators to play a more supportive role in the lives of students. The minister insists that teachers and principals should use their post not only to educate but also to mentor.
Today I ask for a remembrance of the mentorship that each of you is obliged in your consciences as well as by your post in the school. So please let no child be left behind in terms of your efforts to keep contact with the home, however difficult, however shaky that contact or those persons may be.
Minister Thwaites was speaking recently at the Glenmuir High School as the institution celebrated its annual colloquium with a number of sessions catering to the development of educators. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Andrea Chisholm. Thank you for watching.
The Petrocaribe Development Fund has been helping to transform the Jamaican landscape for over 9 years, expanding our roadways, modernizing our airports, facilitating the creation of jobs and providing academic scholarships, reshaping communities and improving sanitation facilities. The Petrocaribe Development Fund, moving beyond energy security. To find out more about the fund, call 960-9110 or visit their website, petrocaribejm.org.
Coping with the loss of a loved one is never easy, and just as painful is trying to understand why that person would take his or her life. It's World Suicide Prevention Day, and we are sending out information on warning signs, where to get help, and encouragement of how to cope with such a loss.
My mom committed suicide, it happened, and just the whole stigma that is associated with suicide, it meant that it was not talked about. She wasn't really mentioned.
For many, suicide is a topic that is swept under the rug. But today we're delving into the issue, finding out the facts, hearing personal stories of pain and triumph, and sharing the reasons that you should choose life. Jamaica over the years has had a relatively low suicide rate, but this should not be taken for granted, as there are those who can't see a way out of their difficulties, opting to choose a most permanent solution to what is always a temporary problem. Local statistics show that up to August 2013, 39 persons had taken their own lives. However, the global figures are staggering.
What we are seeing around the world is an increase in the number of suicides. In the year 2000, 815,000 people killed themselves around the world. By the time we got to the year 2010, approximately 1 million people took their lives. And the projection from the World Health Organization is that by the time we get to 2020, 1.53 million people will die by suicide every year.
Dismal figures indeed, especially when you consider that suicide affects persons at all ages and from all socioeconomic backgrounds. Causative factors include guilt, frustration, broken love affairs, and economic distress. Health professionals encourage families to get familiar with the warning signs. Persons who've made previous suicide attempts are at a greater risk of trying to take their own lives. Other signs include mental illness, changes in eating and sleeping habits, and unusual neglect of personal appearance. In many cases, the person struggling with suicidal thoughts has shared their thoughts with at least one other person. Such was the case with Stacey and Kimber's mother, who took her life when Stacey was only 9 years old.
I took it real hard. I didn't even cry for her. I wasn't able to cry for her until 2009. I didn't grieve. It happened, and I know the day I could not eat. I'm the one who found her and had to explain to my sisters that, well, you know, mommy's dead. And yeah, that day was terrible. But I was definitely upset with God, because like, well, God not like me, as he would have let my mom die like that, so me not like him back.
The stigma associated with suicide made coping difficult for young Stacy and her siblings.
We did not get any counseling. For me personally, I just knew life as I knew it had changed. I knew it has changed. I didn't know how much, but I knew it was changed. How did I cope? I read a lot, because I know we didn't manage it. It is still not managed in my family. It's still something people still want to say, probably let sleeping dogs lie, or it's still something that most people cannot talk about today.
In the case of Francesca Tavares, it was an issue she struggled with for years, despite being only 17 years old. 3 years ago, she made an attempt to take her life. Francesca says the fact that she's alive is a miracle.
I felt I had no purpose. I didn't like myself. I look in the mirror and I'd tell myself how ugly I was.
Fortunately for both Stacy and Aunt Francesca, they got help through the aid of Choose Life International, a suicide prevention and grief counseling organization started by Dr. Donovan Thomas and his wife Faith in 2008.
What we want to do is to help them to find hope, because suicidal persons are usually very hopeless.
The government of Jamaica, through the Ministry of Health, also has in place a number of avenues through which persons are able to get the help they need, with crisis centers in each region.
If persons begin to have repeated thoughts of suicides or should be planning to suicides, we would like to encourage such persons to speak to their health care provider. This could be a general practitioner, primary health care provider, doesn't have to be a mental health provider, but certainly a mental health provider would also be useful. These persons can be accessed at the health care facilities, primary health care centers, all across Jamaica. We do also have emergency psychiatric services that respond to crisis calls.
Today, Stacey-Ann is in a much better place as the memory of her mother's suicide no longer causes pain. She's using it as a tool to inspire and strengthen others. So too is Francesca, who has been excelling, becoming a testament that every problem can be overcome.
When my breakthrough happened, for me it was like the only thing I could see in life was possibilities.
It's a good thing I didn't commit suicide, because right after that, a couple months later, I got 8 1s and a 2 in CSEC, and then I got Cape 1 grades, 3 distinctions and a credit, and then Cape 2 recently I got 2 distinctions, 2 credits, and now I got accepted to go to UWI law school, so that's good.
It's important to store water during periods of drought. It's even more important to ensure that the water is safe. Boiling and treating your water with bleach are 2 of the best ways to purify water. If you choose the boiling method, allow the water to boil for 5 minutes, cover and let it cool. Store boiled water in a clean, airtight container and use something with a handle to take out the water when needed. If you use bleach to make your water safe for drinking, use 2 drops of bleach to a liter of water, 8 drops for a gallon, and ½ teaspoon of bleach for 5 gallons of water. Shake well and leave for half an hour before use. Water is essential to a healthy life, so ensure yours is clean and safe for consumption.
The Petrocaribe Energy Corporation Agreement is in its 10th year, and recently, participating countries of the Caribbean and Latin America celebrated its achievements. But how much do you know about the agreement and its benefits? The answer is next.
Seguramente, la unión es la que nos falta para completar la obra de nuestra regeneración. Mas esta unión no nos vendrá por protegidos divinos, sino por efectos sensibles y esfuerzos bien dirigidos.
Words penned by Simon Bolivar in his letter to Jamaica. This letter was the clarion call for the unification of the Americas, which came as a result of a desire for energy security for the Caribbean and Latin American region. Venezuela, through the vision of former President Hugo Chavez, became the pipeline through which these countries could bolster their energy needs. Chavez believed that the lack of parity in existing trade agreements would not drive development in the region. Thus, the Petrocaribe Energy Corporation Agreement was the solution proposed.
Ahora nosotros lo que queremos es compartir esa riqueza que nos dio la naturaleza con los pueblos de América Latina y el Caribe en primer lugar. Y es lo que estamos haciendo. Aquí estamos firmando y comprometiéndonos a suministrar el petróleo y combustible que necesitan los pueblos del Caribe para los próximos 100, 200 años.
The Petrocaribe Energy Corporation Agreement guarantees preferential terms for the purchasing of oil from Venezuela.
It was intended to serve as a model for South-South cooperation. The idea was conceived within a wider framework. How can the developing world, by a judicious use of its resources, fuel its own growth and development and be not reliant entirely on the industrialized countries or dependent solely on the monetary resources which can flow from the international banking institutions?
The countries that are signatories to this agreement are Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Belize, Cuba, Dominica, the Dominican Republic, Grenada, Guyana, Jamaica, Nicaragua, Suriname, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Haiti, Honduras, and Guatemala.
This proposal, which became an agreement, not only addressed the issue, didn't address all of our oil needs, but it certainly relieved the pressure in terms of finding the foreign exchange up front. Now this has two benefits. One is that it reduces the amount of foreign exchange you have to find up front. Roughly speaking, you only have to find 60% of what's needed to purchase the oil in cash. The other 40% is was loaned to Jamaica at concessionary rate.
In that sense, it is different from the typical trade agreement because there is no reciprocity. It is a one-way arrangement. Petrocaribe has been, for Jamaica, a lifeline.
This lifeline has fueled Jamaica's social and economic development through the loan financing and investment activities of the Petrocaribe Development Fund, PDF, which was established through the Petroleum Amendment Act of December 22, 2006.
The fund was established to receive the proceeds of the Petrocaribe agreement. What the fund does is to manage those loan proceeds. And in managing the loan proceeds, it repays the debt to Venezuela, and it also provides loan financing for development projects to the government of Jamaica through the Ministry of Finance, and the public bodies.
A critical mandate under the Petrocaribe Energy Corporation agreement is for the region to reduce its dependency on fossil fuel. The PDF Jamaica has adopted a proactive approach through broad-scale investments in alternative energy sources.
We have been able to invest in our wind farm at Wicton, the government of Jamaica. We are now generating about 40 megawatts of capacity, and in another 6 or so months we will be increasing that by 24 megawatts of capacity.
The Petrocaribe Energy Corporation agreement allows beneficiary territories to repay the debt to Venezuela through goods and services under the trade compensation mechanism. Jamaica has been making use of this facility by exporting clinker to Venezuela.
The main issue for us has been, one, to guarantee repayment, to ensure that the assets are properly maintained and that the repayment schedules are in fact adhered to, and at the same time to take advantage of the particular provisions that would allow for the development of a long-term relationship with Venezuela.
That relationship is expansive and there are many benefits to be pursued.
In 2013, there was a discussion about the development of the Petrocaribe Economic Zone, in which ALBA member countries and some members of the Petrocaribe who are not members of ALBA got together and decided that we needed to go beyond just the financing arrangement in terms of oil and energy, but we needed to look at a whole range of economic activities that would enhance the overall development and the cooperation within the region.
The relationship between Jamaica and Venezuela encompasses more than energy. However, it is a relationship driven by a desire for social and economic equity and empowered by the promise echoed in the letter to Jamaica.
Soy de usted, etcétera, etcétera. Bolívar.
It's been 11 months.
7 years. 12 years.
Since I became the most important person in the world.
It's a big responsibility for know say her future is in our hands.
I have to tell him and show him that he is my number one. I want to prepare them for life's journey. So as them grow, them know the difference between right and wrong.
I gotta make sure I keep him out of bad company. Because if I don't raise him right, the streets are gonna raise him. I feel, she feel.
If me stumble, him fall. Knowing I'm responsible for their future and they're responsible for Jamaica's future.
So I won't give up or allow her to quit. I'm gonna make sure I'm safe on the straight and narrow.
Me prefer to tell them no now than watch them regret it later.
Because to the world, I'm just another person. But to my child, I'm the whole wide world.
To tell the truth, I don't normally pay attention to the weather report when it comes out. But that piece of information is very important. Just knowing ahead of time if it's going to rain and the intensity, if it's sunny and the degree, will help to guide activities in farming, production, and even travel. The Meteorological Service is responsible for sending out these data, and we stopped by their office at the Norman Manley International Airport to witness the collection of information.
Of course, all eyes are on Hurricane Ivan at this time, where we see that we are on the outer fringe of the system. Some of the bands are spilling some showers over the Jamaica area. Just a warning that this thing is actually coming across the area.
A television broadcast of national importance. A critical prediction that possibly saved lives and property. A prediction that came at the end of a process that began with some pretty sophisticated technology.
Weather forecasting is trying to determine the changes in the atmosphere.
Several methods are applied to gather weather data, from simple observation.
It's critical to assess the clouds because the cloud is one of the most important elements of determining a forecast.
to the use of satellites, radars, buoys, and weather aircraft. Forecasters from around the world share information generated by advanced computer software and remote sensing equipment, such as this automatic weather station. Working together, data is synchronized or matched, making it possible to predict the weather from virtually anywhere in the world. Weather collecting devices like buoys, which are equipped with special sensors and networked to computer software, are strategically placed and anchored along the seas or left to drift in response to ocean currents and winds. These networks of buoys provide forecasters with hourly updates on marine measurements related to wind conditions, barometric pressure, air and sea surface temperatures, as well as wave data. The Doppler radar is another useful tool. Radar stands for radio detection and ranging, and it works based on a series of principles named for Austrian physicist Johann Christian Doppler. This sophisticated instrument allows forecasters to monitor the speed and direction of severe weather systems. Data from all sources are fed to central points for analysis and comparison, and are shared all over the world.
In doing that, we are able to produce what we call a synoptic chart. In producing this chart, it gives us a picture of what is happening across Jamaica and the region. Region here meaning the Caribbean area. After we do that, then we also look at what we call weather prediction models. These models enable us to determine what is going to happen in the future. What we do with the model is that we make an analysis of the model and we make a comparison between the model forecast and what we had done on the synoptic chart.
At this stage, a determination can be made as to what will happen over the next 12 to 24 hours with an outlook for up to 5 days.
In looking at the information, then we determine what the features are and what the influence of these features would be across Jamaica, which would indicate if the day is going to be cloudy, if it's going to be fair, or we expect showers, thunderstorm, or a very windy day.
From the more urgent situations, such as an approaching hurricane, to the less crucial, like where to go for a sunny vacation, news on the weather is always useful. And very important for fishermen and others who must navigate the seas for a living.
We also issue marine products, so persons who are going out to sea would know what the conditions would be across the seas. We have aviation products that are issued specifically to aviation users that would enable them to make a safe flight. This is a live feed from the runway. So all the information that is displayed here is what's happening currently on the runway, and this is what is critical to all the airlines.
Information on climatic conditions is also provided to farmers and persons in construction, as well as those doing research on the environment. So the next time you see this,
some scattered shower activity over some coastal areas on the northern side of the island.
Remember, weather prediction isn't a guessing game. It's a scientific process involving sophisticated technology, providing useful information for industry, for research, for disaster management, and for life.
All residents immediately evacuate the area.
When you hear that music, it means our show is coming to an end. But don't worry, another broadcast comes your way tomorrow, same time, same station. Until then, keep the link. Stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. We welcome your feedback, so keep sending your comments to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JISnews. On behalf of the production crew, I'm Theodore Henry. Have a pleasant evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.